What's the real purpose of education, and how should it be done? In the Republic, Plato seeks to tackle these questions. He creates his version of an ideal society, and at the center of it is education. Because if we want a just society, we need just individuals. And in Plato's view, this starts with how we're shaped from the beginning. So in this video, we'll explore why Plato believes real education isn't just about learning facts, but about shaping the soul. Let's get into it. In the Republic, Plato crafts his version of an ideal society, and an important piece in this society is education, because how we raise people shapes who they become. So he begins with a simple, essential question. And what shall be their education? Can we find it better than the traditional sort? And this has two divisions, gymnastics for the body and music for the soul. Plato starts with music, but not music in the narrow sense we think of today. In the ancient Greek, musike meant something much bigger. It was the entire world of the arts, all under the guidance of the muses, the goddesses of creativity, learning, and inspiration. In Plato's time, being trained in musike meant being shaped by stories, poetry, and song, just as the media and books we consume today shapes our value system, what we see as good, bad, admirable, or shameful. And that's why for Plato, education in musike is so important. It's not just about shaping culture, it's about formation of character. And if stories have that much power, they should be chosen carefully. So Plato calls for censorship, not to control, but to protect. He argues that young people should only hear stories that model virtue, because at that age, they can't easily tell truth from fiction, and what enters the mind leaves a lasting mark. He writes, "For a young person cannot judge what is allegorical and what is literal. Anything that he receives into his mind at that age is likely to become indelible and unalterable, and therefore it is most important that the tales which the young first hear should be models of virtuous thoughts." Our heroes and role models matter, because we often imitate what we admire. That's why Plato says the characters in our stories should embody what is good. He writes, "Imitations, beginning in early youth, grow into habits and become a second nature. If they imitate at all, they should imitate the courageous, temperate, holy, free, and the like." Plato even takes aim at the fear of death. He argues that filling young minds with terrifying images of the afterlife makes people weak, especially future warriors. He writes, "Can any man be courageous who has the fear of death in him? Will he choose death in battle rather than defeat and slavery, who believes the world below to be real and terrible?" To sum up, musical education is really cultural education for the purpose of character formation, and Plato says it should be carefully filtered in childhood so that we grow up with the right examples shaping who we become. The next phase of Plato's education is gymnastics, or physical training, which is used not just for fitness, but for building strength of character. He writes, "I believe," I said, "that the teachers of both music and gymnastic have in view chiefly the improvement of the soul. And later, gymnastic as well as music should begin in early years. The training in it should be careful and should continue through life." Plato also calls for a clean diet and avoiding excess, including a rule to abstain from intoxication. This kind of training is meant to build courage. But Plato says that too much physical training without the arts can make the soul hard and harsh, writing, "Excessive training in gymnastics without music produces a temper of hardness and ferocity. But the opposite extreme is also bad. Too much art without physical training makes the soul weak." He writes, "An excessive devotion to music without gymnastic produces softness and effeminacy." So what's the right balance? Plato says it's all about harmony, soul and body in sync. He writes, "He who mingles music with gymnastic in the fairest proportions may be rightly called the true musician and harmonist." The third and perhaps most important stage of education is the study of the sciences: arithmetic, geometry, astronomy, and harmony. But for Plato, the point isn't to memorize facts, it's to train the mind to think in terms of reason and truth. Take arithmetic, for example. For Plato, learning that 1 + 1 = 2 isn't just about the numbers. It's about showing the mind that some truths don't depend on the opinions or perceptions of others. One plus 1 = 2 will always be true, no matter what anyone else says. And once the mind sees that, it starts to look for absolute truth in other areas as well, like justice, beauty, or love. For example, the politician who understands the form of justice knows what justice actually is and can measure laws against that perfect standard. Likewise, the art critic who grasps the form of beauty understands what beauty actually is and doesn't just rely on taste. They're working from real knowledge of what beauty is. This kind of knowledge isn't easy to reach, which is why Plato gives us one of the most powerful metaphors in all of philosophy, the allegory of the cave, which serves as a metaphor for the soul's climb from illusion to truth. Plato says the way out of the cave is through disciplined education, especially in the sciences, which teaches us to understand unchanging truth and lifts the mind beyond mere opinion to contemplate the true nature of things. As he writes, "The eye of the soul, which is literally buried in an outlandish slough, is by her gentle aid lifted upwards, and she uses as handmaids and helpers in the work of conversion the sciences which we have been discussing. And for Plato, the ultimate goal of education is to obtain knowledge of what he calls the good, which gives meaning to everything else. For example, we value justice because we say justice is good. We value love because we say love is good. If we didn't know what good was, we wouldn't know why anything matters at all. As Plato writes, the good may be said to be not only the author of knowledge to all things known, but of their being and essence. And so to review, Plato says the purpose of education is to shape character and to train the mind to contemplate truth. And well-educated individuals, in turn, build better societies, creating what Plato calls a virtuous cycle. He writes, the state, if once started well, moves with accumulating force like a wheel, for good nurture and education implant good constitutions, and these good constitutions, taking root in a good education, improve more and more. So if we want richer lives and a healthier society, Plato says it begins with a proper education. Musique molds our character, gymnastics builds our spirit, and science sharpens our reason. Watching this video, Plato might say, is a small step on the path towards a better education, and by extension, a more just and well-ordered life. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like below and subscribe to continue learning philosophy with me. The goal of this channel is to bring philosophy into the modern world to help us think more clearly, and in the process of doing so, live better lives. If you want to learn more about Plato's Republic, check out the other videos on my channel. This is a 4-part episode series breaking down the major themes from the book. I'm so excited to share this in future episodes with you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one.